Debt, fear, relationships, the children, your health, work. When you want to give up and you need courage to continue, take heart and stay tuned as RJ Jackson writes her signature message of hope on your heart. You don't have to live where you're dying, and you don't have to die where you're living. Like every show of Conversations on Courage, you'll be informed, inspired, and encouraged to find the courage you need to succeed at home, work, and in your business. Get your pen and paper. You'll want to take notes. And now, your host, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the table. Welcome to another epic Conversation on Courage podcast. I am your host, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver, and I'm honored to be here today. This is a show. It's a show for women who dare to live bold, authentic, and courageous lives. This is a show for women who dare to be all that they were created to be. This is a show for women who dare to live unapologetically. This is the show where you can find the courage you need in order to succeed. This is the show for you. I like to look at this as episode number 1. Although it's not our first episode, it is the one you've been waiting for. It's the one that you will appreciate and the one you will be glad you stuck around to hear. It's the one that will help you level up in your business and in your personal life. This is the one you'll want to listen to over and over again. Matter of fact, it's the one you'll want to share with your sister friend. So why don't you go ahead, take a moment and do that right now. Simply hit the share button. And while you're touching those buttons, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. And please leave a review. On today's show, as on every show, we promise to give you information that will cause transformation in your situation. We promise. Another episode of Conversation on Courage. What are we going to do? Not only are we going to give you the information for transformation, we're going to answer your questions. The ones that you've had the courage to ask on our online Facebook group. Girl, I'm working on it too. Now, if you're not a part of our group, I invite you to head on over and join us on Facebook on Girl, I'm Working on It Too. Head on over and connect with women who are willing to get underneath you, walk beside you, and remind you of your greatness. What else are we going to do? We're going to share insight and inspiration for your current situation. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. I've been very ill. So I'm really grateful to be able to be here with you today and to encourage your heart along the way. So I can't thank you enough for spending this time with us today here on Conversations on Courage. And actually, if I can keep it real with you, I'm still not feeling my best. But one thing I'm always committed to doing is giving my best. And I want to encourage you in whatever you do to do the same thing because... So, what's confidence anyway? Well, in the purest sense, confidence is knowing what you're good at. It's the value you provide and acting in such a way that it conveys to others, here's who I am, and here's the value that I bring. Now, on the other flip side of the coin of confidence is arrogance, which typically involves believing that you're better in a particular area than you are. Or perhaps you have low self-esteem, which involves believing that you're less valuable than you think you are. So arrogance is feeling that you actually bring more than you do bring to the table. And low self-esteem is not feeling like you have any value at all. While confidence is knowing who you are. It's knowing you're not your circumstances and you're not your situation. You're not what happens to you. Those things that happen come to build your character, to make you stronger. Confidence is knowing who you are. So what's all the hype about confidence anyway? Why is it that I'm always trying to encourage you to take a risk with confidence? You see, confidence is the ability to say yes and to take advantage of opportunities. You know, when people have confidence, they don't miss new options because they're shy or they're afraid. When people have confidence, they succeed because they can face and overcome their fears. They believe in themselves. Confidence is knowing who you are and the value you bring. So let's talk about, for just a moment, 3 reasons why confidence leads to success. Now, remember, I said earlier, we grow by the questions we ask. So let me ask you a question. Do you want to be successful? I know. You may be saying, that's a crazy question. Well, some people are actually afraid of success. They don't want to be because perhaps it means they got to give up their sad story. Or perhaps it means that someone's going to hold them accountable. Or perhaps it means that they have to level up and they just aren't ready. How about you? Do you want to be successful? If so, confidence is the way to go. So why? Let's talk about 3 reasons why. Number 1, when you have confidence, you have the drive to start. And sometimes we just don't get going because we don't have the drive to start. We keep turning that engine over and it just doesn't start. And we add that word someday. Someday I'm going to write that book. Someday I'm going to go back to school. Someday I'm going to start my business. It's like that car cranking and cranking, but never turning over. Confidence? Oh no. It says, let's go. Regardless of what's going on, let's go. Why else is confidence important? Well, it gives us the ability to stand up for ourselves. Confidence allows us to stand up for what's fair, what's right, what's just in a consistent manner. We find ourselves unheard and treated unfairly when we don't have confidence. We say things like, that wasn't fair. Well, I got overlooked. Well, don't you see me standing here? Listen, when you have confidence, people not only see you standing there, but they want to be a part of what you're doing while you're standing there. Number 3, when we have confidence, we have the ability not only to say yes, but the ability to say no. Confident people know where the no's go. They know when to say yes and when to say no. They know how to turn down a good opportunity for a great opportunity. They're not afraid that they're going to miss out on something if they say no. Oh yes, it's time, my friend, to take a risk with confidence. You don't have to do it alone. We're created for connection. And that's what we help you do. So if you're ready to go, start your engine, stand up for yourself, and know when to say yes and know when to say no, then confidence is required. And don't forget about courage, because courage is being afraid, but starting anyhow. You can do it, and we'll do more than help. We'll support you, encourage you, get underneath you, and lift you up and inspire you to be your best by taking a risk with confidence. So here's another question. Remember, we grow by the questions we ask. So my final question is, what are you waiting for to grow?
Stay tuned. Coming up next, RJ brings her special guest to the table for more authentic and down-to-earth conversations on courage.
I'm always excited and honored to sit at the table with extraordinary people who are living ordinary lives but making a difference in the lives of those they touch. I'm excited about this conversation. So listen, as you may remember, over the last couple of weeks, we talked about an upcoming conference at Champion Church in Yuma, Arizona. Well, I want you to know that over the weekend, heaven was here on earth in Yuma, Arizona, at the Champion Church, where the Bloom Conference was in full bloom. I'm telling you, Pastor Lucinda and her team just rocked the house with the guest speakers, Pastor Desiree Ayers, Real Talk Kim, Pastor Carmen all the way from Canada, and yours truly, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver. Oh, when I tell you that God is faithful, let me tell you, I know what I'm talking about, because once again, he proved himself faithful. And here just to give us a recap and thank you for making the conference so amazing is the First Lady of Champion Church, the Queen, the Diva, Pastor Lucinda Bloomfield.
An amazing woman of God. When I say she is amazing, girl, I'm talking about Pastor Lucinda from Champion Church in Yuma, Arizona. Pastor, welcome back to the table here at Conversations on Courage. Oh, let's talk about that conference, girl.
What an amazing time we had. RJ, you really brought the heat with the girls. They just love you. And your message on small potatoes was nothing small about that message. That was a big message. You're a gourmet meal of potatoes.
French fries, baby. French fries. Golden French fries.
Yes, but your French fries are gourmet, sweetheart. They are no little McDonald's French fries. Yours are gourmet.
Awesome. Thank you, beautiful, for allowing me to encourage the heart of the women and remind them that God's not mad at them, that the things that they're going through, really the Bible is correct. Small potatoes in comparison to the great things that God has in store for them. I was certainly honored to serve with you and to remind the women that they are loved. You had some powerhouse speakers in the house. You had Real Talk Kim. You had Desiree Ayers from California, all the way from Canada. You had Pastor Carmen. Let's talk about the word that they shared with the women.
Well, I really felt like everyone just brought their best, and we always pray for that the ladies are healthy and strong and they feel good. And I know some of the speakers were battling through bronchitis and whatnot, but you would have never known that. Everyone came and just brought their best, and the women truly received, and it was so powerful.
Now, I was there, so I got an opportunity to hear you share your testimony as well, but there were women who couldn't attend. So share a little bit of your testimony and how God has healed you and uses you as an inspirational leader and pastor's wife to bring hope and possibility to women all around the world.
Well, like I like to say, is that I'm not a beauty for ashes story. I'm an ashes for beauty story, because at a very young age, at 30, when I was attacked with ulcerative colitis, I went into, I went into an acute attack of ulcerative colitis, which just means my bowel got completely infected and septic. And so I had to battle that just to live, not for a surgery. They couldn't do surgery. I was way too far gone at that point to even do surgery. So the doctors decided to just let me try to heal, and that was a devastating process with 2 little boys, and they were at home and with my husband, and we were planting a church in Canada at the time, and it was just really hard days to be night after night going to sleep, seeing the treetops through the window. of where my kids were on the other side. I was quite thankful to be able to see those treetops, but it was very lonely in that season. So just a very long story short, after I got well enough, which was a miracle in itself, they had to completely remove my bowel. I lost all my hair because of the trauma. I went down to under 80 pounds because of not being able to absorb any nutrition. I had gray skin. I looked like a skeleton. I had no fat anywhere on my body. I like to say I wanted my husband to at least drive me down to the mall so I could try on a pair of zero jeans just to see what it feels like to take a pair of double zero jeans off the rack and put them on, because I just was so emancipated and trying to make light out of a really hard situation. So then after surgery 1, walking through that process, which is all within itself. After surgery 2, when they went in and took out my intestines and made what they call a J pouch and placed that J pouch onto my sphincter muscle, when I woke up from my surgery, there were a lot of surgeons around me, and it felt something was wrong, the way they were looking down on me. And I just said, Dr. Atkinson, which I was number 248th person to ever have this surgery, that was on record. And I said, Dr. Atkinson, is everything okay? And he reached down with his, what I like to say, his big, beautiful surgical hand. And he grabbed my little tiny skinny wrist and he said, for such a little girl as you had such a large sphincter muscle. We didn't know how to put the pouch on to your sphincter muscle. None of our instruments fit you. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, it just means that we had to sew you up by hand. And he said, if I had to create anyone for this kind of surgery, I would have created them just like you. Your sphincter muscle is so large and healthy that you are going to sail through this surgery and do tremendously well. And I'm so happy and proud of you. And I just looked up at him and I started to cry. And I said, Dr. Atkinson, that's just like the Word of God. In Psalms, they promised me they would keep my Bible on my bed throughout the surgery. And I had my little Bible. I reached up and touched my little Bible by my pillow. And I said, it's just like the Word of God, Dr. Atkinson, that says that He knew me. God knew me before He placed me inside of my mother's womb. And so I just always want women to know that whatever they need to get through their traumatic times, we're all going to have them, whatever they need to get through the divorce, the wayward child, the pain, the diagnosis, whatever it is, the loss, the rejection, whatever they're facing, God already placed inside of each of us exactly what we need to walk out what this life is going to hand us, because eternity is so long, it's so amazing, it's so powerful, and yet while we're on this earth, we have to do all we can to fight through the battle to become the woman that God has created us to be.
Woo, girl, you said you had a J pouch that they made just for you, and when you said that, Jesus pouch came to mind, a J pouch. And God wants us all to have a J pouch where we can bring new life and hope and possibility to press past our circumstances and our situation, our brokenness, and find healing and hope, just like God has provided for you. What a message to share with God's women for healing, hope, and possibility. To remind them as well, they don't have to die where they're living. And they don't have to live where they're dying.
RJ, I have told my story for years now, and I have not cried for a long time until this moment when you just said my J pouch was like a Jesus, J for Jesus. That just touched my heart. And it's so funny, that story can just never get better and better, I'll tell you, and it just did. It just did.
Well, that's what God wants us to use our story for His glory, and He always brings it to a new level so that we don't feel stuck in what we've gone through. And that's what Past Real Talk Kim talked about, being stuck in our story. And what you just said is we don't have to be stuck in our story. We can use our story for God's glory. We can continue to take it up another level to help take us closer to Him and bring other women with us. And that's exactly, Pastor, what you and your team are doing in Yuma, Arizona. You are bringing women to the heart of God and reminding them who they are in Him. I'm telling you, I experienced the power of God at Champion Church in Yuma, Arizona this weekend. And I tell you, you are doing great and mighty things there for the kingdom. So I bless you. I bless you. I bless you.
Can I just pause and have you tell your listeners what happened to you on your journey to Champion Church, with it being after everything you went through, how God brought you to our conference?
Ooh, you mean you want me to tell them what happens when you live life on the other side of fear?
Yes.
Well, as you know, that was my first road trip. I usually go maybe an hour in the car, and I have to okay, breathe, RJ, it's going to be okay. But I rode in the car for over 4 hours from California to Yuma, Arizona, and I tell you, it was the most peaceful trip after being in a life-threatening, as most people know, car accident where not only me, my passengers, both of them, all three of us, were rushed to trauma hospital with severe life-threatening injuries, brain injuries, everything. And I said, you know what? I am not going to let this define me. I am going to let God use this story for his glory as a reposition journey of my life to show other women that they don't have to live where they're dying, and they can still stand if they trust God. I got in the back of that car, and I tell you, I was just at peace. I wasn't nervous. I didn't have any anxiety. I just trusted God to be God. And once again, he showed himself faithful, got us there safely. We not only went there, we traveled 6 more hours after the conference and went to the Grand Canyon, played in the snow, made it back home safely, because the God we serve, oh, he's just that kind of God, girl.
He was smiling on you all the way, and my ladies just loved you, and you just brought such a beautiful word of peace and wholeness, and the ladies just grabbed a hold of you and just loved you. They've all told me several times how much they loved you.
And I just loved them too. I love the fact, now I know it probably went a little longer than you were anticipating, but I love the fact that you invited every single woman, over 500 women, every single woman to come up and be blessed, for us as pastors to lay our hands on them and to encourage them. And I tell you, I kept looking out in the audience and I kept saying, some of these women getting back in line again. I know they are.
I guess some of the girls waited over an hour to be prayed for, which really touched me, because I know so many women hurt, and there's nothing like that hug, that power of agreement, that power of impartation from powerful women as yourself, as Real Talk Kim, as Pastor Desiree Ayers, and so many others. There's just nothing like that power of God that just comes on that life when it's imparted from some of you. Some of these women would never get to touch someone as powerful as you, and they all walked away with something from each and every one of you.
And we say to that, to God be the glory. Now let's talk about your story one more time. I know you have a book that was just released, and I know there are women who are listening who are like, man, I couldn't go, but they want to touch your heart and have you touch their heart. How can they connect with you? How can they purchase your book? And what's in store for next year for the conference?
So they can go to lucindabloomfield.com, or they can just put my name in, Lucinda Bloomfield, right into Amazon, and my books will come right up there. I wrote a book not too long ago called Let's Get a Ring on It for Single Women, and it's really revolutionary. It's for women who want to know the science behind attraction. I tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't make it. I don't talk about it in modern terms. I talk about it in scientific terms of estrogen and testosterone. Those are 2 chemicals that will never change. If they do, we'll no longer have a population. So when you understand how it works, and you work it, and you work it good, you're going to be getting down that aisle. My next book that just now comes out is called Frontline Woman, to women who are called to a higher life. They're not called to the average. They're called to the life of danger because we don't fear danger. We are the danger. And it's called to women who are called to foster children, who are called to teach in the school system, who are called to help children on a reservation, who are called to help women in coming out of human trafficking. It's for the women that are called to something that's not just the average everyday life, the 9 to 5, be a mom, get up, get your kids ready, and go to school. It's for the woman that knows deep inside of her, no, God has something bigger for me to do. It's a challenge, and it's for women who have the courage to step up to the plate and do the big thing that God has placed within them.
And if you missed that information, you can always find it on our website, conversationsoncourage.com. You want to connect with Pastor Lucinda. You want to get her book, and you want to join us next year because we've already committed to taking a team of women to Yuma, Arizona on next year to experience the power of God and the royalty that they will experience that Pastor Lucinda and her team has extended. Because when I say they are amazing, girl, I'm talking about Pastor Lucinda and her team at Champion Church in Yuma, Arizona. You want to be a part of what they're doing. Pastor Lucinda, thank you for who you are, for your heart that beats after God's heart, and for loving God's people the way you do, that your ultimate desire is for them to come to know Him in an intimate way, and the road that you pave for them is definitely royal.
Thank you, beautiful RJ. You bring a smile to my face, you bring joy to my heart, and you light the world up for thousands and thousands of women. And He's opening more doors for you. Your whole ministry is just in the early stages of blooming. It's that little bud, and God is just putting that bright sunshine on it, and it is blossoming, and it is just going to go across the earth. I just know it, and I just speak to those open doors in the name of Jesus. I thank you for your friendship, and I just want God's very best for you and all of your listeners.
Bless you, beautiful. Hey, let's go do what God called us to do, because women need to know that they can do it too. And as they see us saying yes, they find the courage to live life on the other side of fear and take a risk with confidence. Thanks for joining us once again at the table here on Conversations on Courage.
So, as you may or may not know, this is Women's History Month. And so sometimes we hear about things, we know about them, well, on the surface, that is, and we don't really know the history, the meaning, and the struggle that has taken place in order for us to celebrate. And so I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the history of Women's Month and sharing some information with you. Want to educate you as well as encourage you on today. So Women's History Month, it actually started in 1981 when Congress passed a bill which authorized and requested the president to proclaim the week beginning with March 7th as Women's History Month. Now, throughout the next 5 years, Congress continued to pass joint resolutions designating a week in March as Women's History Month. It was in 1987, after being petitioned by the National Women's History Project, that Congress actually passed the bill which designated the month of March in 1987 as Women's History Month. Now, we know that Women's History Month is every month because as women, we make history. Every time we do what we do, it's like, wow, who could have done that other than a woman, right? I'm just saying. So between 1988 and 1994, Congress continued to pass additional resolutions requesting and authorizing the president to proclaim March of each year as Women's History Month. And it was in 1995 when President Clinton actually followed by President Bush and Obama, had issued a series of annual proclamations designating the month of March as Women's History Month. And today we want to say Happy Women's History Month to amazing women. And you, my sister, well, girl, you're one of them. Okay, so now that I've given you his story about how her story became history, let me encourage your heart. Because as women, we need to stand beside one another. We need to get under each other and lift each other up. It's really time out for us as women to stop looking at each other and comparing ourselves to one another, discouraging one another, speaking negatively to each other. It's time for us to give words of hope and inspiration to people, to women around us who are literally dying to live so that they can be reminded. You don't have to live where you're dying. And girl, you certainly don't have to die where you're living. So I want to encourage you to encourage one another, to remember that if you're going through, your sister is probably going through too. So if you see her with her head hung down, don't push her down further. Give her a reason to lift her head up, if only for a moment, to look at you because you're going to smile back at her. So it's time for us to encourage one another, support one another, lift each other up. So today I just want to say, be encouraged by the words I share as we celebrate you, my sister, a beautiful queen, for Women's History Month. You are important and valued. I admire how strong you are as a woman. Your ability to make the ordinary beautiful, my sister, well, that's truly a gift. I just want to remind you that the only time you run out of chances is when you stop taking them. Today and every day, decide to wake up anticipating something great is going to happen. And no matter what you do, keep up the good work. And always remember, I'm rooting for you. As women, it is time that we start calling ourselves healed, happy, whole, blessed, and prosperous. It is time that we declare that we are loved more than we can even fathom. Listen, girl, if someone is stupid enough to walk away from you, well, I'm just asking you to be smart enough to let them go. You are worthy. You see, when God sees you doing your part, developing what He has given you, then He will continue to do His part and open doors that no one can shut. But that door that He walked out of, girl, how about you shut it and put the lock on it? I'm just saying. And always remember, even when He's gone, you're not alone, even when you feel lonely. Those are the times to call your sister friends and say, girl, can we talk? Because as women, we need each other to survive. We need each other to survive. You see, as women, we are strong because the problems we face, they are big. But it is time that we start putting a name to our problems and reminding them that they have a place. And it's not in our heart because God has already taken up residence there. Yeah, that's what I want to suggest you do. Put a name on your problem. Call it by name. Don't call it yours because it's not your problem. It's God's problem, and He's already solved them. all of them. Every single thing that you're going to face, that I'm going to face, God has already worked it out for our good and for His glory. Girl, you are strong. When I say she is strong, girl, I'm talking about you. And a strong woman, well, she works out every day to keep her body in shape. But a woman of strength, well, she works out to keep her soul in shape. Now, you often hear me say, hello, beautiful, because that's you. And a beautiful woman is one who uses her lips to speak the truth, her voice for kindness, her heart for love, her ears for compassion, and her hands for charity. Hello, beautiful. Girl, that's you. And I'm so grateful that you're my sister. I hope you're living the life that you're proud of. And if not, I hope you find the one that you will be. As women, this Women's History Month, I think we should declare it is time for us to share and support one another. It's easy to give up, but I want to say to you, never give up. And before you even think about giving up, stop and think just for a moment why you started in the first place. And I hope you find the courage, the confidence, and the strength to simply start all over. I wish you the strength to face the challenges of life with confidence and the wisdom to choose your battles carefully. I know you can do it. I believe in you, sister. To all my married sisters out there, I want to remind you this Women's History Month that you are a great wife. And someday, everything you're going through, it'll make sense. To all my single and satisfied, and yes, even those of you who are unsatisfied sisters, girl, God knows the plans that He has for you. Wait on Him. Wait on Him. He knows the men that He has for you too. As we celebrate history, we got to remember the past has a place, and it's not our place to hold on to it in such a way that it keeps us from enjoying the moment. Press past the past. Take care of you. Always remember, you've got exactly what it takes to be the best you. Oh, by the way, shout out to all the men who may be listening in. Listen, winning and losing both have benefits. Winning can make you a leader, while losing can make you a guide for others. And to everyone today, I just want to remind you that your actions have proved that you're not the type of person who gives up easily. I can't wait to see what God has in store for you. Thank you for being who you are. Don't ever forget that the world awaits your greatness. It's time to show up. It's time to live out the plans that God has for you. Those plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Those plans to give you a hope and a future. So as you walk along the way, be strong and courageous. Do not fear, for the Lord God is with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Hope in the Lord, for He will renew your strength. Remember to soar on the wings like eagles. Run, don't be weary. Hey, walk, don't faint. Yes, you're going to have trouble, but take heart, for God has overcome the world. Fear not, He's with you. Don't be dismayed. He is your God. He will strengthen you. He will help you. He will uphold you with His righteous right hand. God has commanded us to be strong and be courageous. You don't have a spirit of fear. You have a spirit of power and love and self-control. Take heart. Hope in God. Take heart. Let your hope make you glad. Be patient in a time of trouble and never stop praying. Worry about nothing. Pray about everything. This is Women's History Month. I don't know about you, but I'm proud to be a woman. And to all our men, for us to be all that we've been created to be, don't forget, we need you to be who God has created you to be so that we can walk in this way together. I'm RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver, encouraging your heart, reminding you to take a risk with confidence. Hey, whatever you're going through, don't forget, the key word is through. This too shall pass. If you need someone to walk with you, don't hesitate to give me a call. And if you're already walking, hey girl, well, I'll catch you on the other side of fear, because that is where life is happening. I look forward to connecting with you again next week. We have an amazing lineup for you this month as we talk about Women's History Month. We're going to actually hear from our men. We have an amazing lineup just for you. Well, we've kept our promise again, and we've provided you with another down-to-earth, epic conversation on courage. We know you are inspired and empowered, so be sure to catch us for every episode. Simply subscribe to give us a review and put your comments below. You can find us on iTunes, iHeart, and YouTube. As your host, it's my pleasure not only to connect you with amazing people, but to encourage, inspire, and empower you to take a risk with confidence. As a personal and professional development confidence booster, coach, and speaker, you can count on me to boost your confidence so that you can take a risk and take your business as well as your life to the next level. Let's have a conversation on courage and on purpose. Connect with me today. You deserve to live your best life now.
Thank you for joining us for Conversations on Courage. Now that you've been inspired, informed, and encouraged, it's time for you to take action. So head on over to thecouragegiver.com. That's thecouragegiver.com and connect with RJ for a personal conversation on courage. She's waiting to help you take the risk you need to succeed.